Camp Pendleton is really a jewel. It has been situated there since World War II, and it's been essential to Marine Corps training ever since we first did our landings there in preparation for our World War II assaults through the Pacific.
Roger, requesting permission to go into a training status this time, over.
Pretty rough. At this time, you are cleared into a training status. Continue hourly radio check. At the top of the hour, this is going to count into 0800 radio check. FDR remains moderate. Report when you're complete.
It was actually a two-part exercise, and you know, the first part we actually did aboard ship, or aboard a ship pierside with the Navy, and one of the great things that we did there was we showed the utility of using simulation in a training environment. Some of the live feeds that the ship was able to take from some of the systems that the Navy has actually fed the shipboard radars and their other combat systems out there, so it gave us a very realistic picture. But the most important thing that it did was it gave us a chance to sit down, both the ESG-3, the Expeditionary Strafe Group 3 staff, and my staff from 1st MEB. We were able to develop a very close working relationship. What it didn't do, though, is it didn't allow us to get our major subordinate commands actually doing some of the muscle movement that has to go on for amphibious type exercises. And that's where the second part, the part of the exercise that we did in July, really paid big dividends for us. What we did was focus on more of the landward training areas there, from San Clemente Island through the beaches across the full length of Camp Pendleton to a lot of the inland ranges. And we were still able to get a lot of those muscle movements, those ship-to-shore kind of things that you need to do, and then some of the deep assault capabilities. We were able to come across the beach, assault deep inland, and use the ranges at Camp Pendleton to great effect as we integrated both the Navy view of the naval campaign as well as the Marine Corps view of the naval campaign.
Realistic, or just as realistic option for the Marine Corps is to go in as an MPF, a Maritime Preposition Force, and basically fly in forces, fly in command and control, and to offload hardware, trucks, artillery pieces, and amphibian assault vehicles off of these prepositioned ships, assemble the force, and then continue on with the operations ashore. So again, a very important capability that we don't get to rehearse very often. So Dawn Blitz gave us an opportunity, while there were uncertainties initially, gave us an opportunity to exercise those operations, and they're fairly complex.
I mean, you know, we can plan as much as possible, and it's something where you hope for, but you also want those snags, those bumps in the roads to come up, because ultimately during these training evolutions, this is where you get to work through the problems and come up with solutions. A lot of motor street drivers have never experienced driving on a ship. There's some real constraints there. Height constraints, just the overall mobility there. You're looking at what's around you, but also what's above you, what's behind you. There's ultimately something there. It can be an extremely dangerous environment. You know, to get a vehicle that's just basically bare bones, or what it looks like to be bare bones. It has everything in the back of it. You know, we'll say it's 7 ton. The cab is broken down. You know, all the equipment that's in the back, you know, and it rolls off the vessel, off the ship, onto the beach, onto a forward staging area. And from there, you know, it's handed off to those maintenance management Marines, those motor team mechs, things like that, those operators that are going to be using this piece of gear to make sure it's running, it's in working order, and then ultimately they can use that piece of gear to go forward into the fight.
Dawn Blitz was not only Camp Pendleton, but we used all our bases and ranges. And we had to close down Red Beach and tell surfers that they couldn't use part of the area. We executed our right to use the state park, which is we lease to the state park. Anytime we want to use the state park, we can notify them.
To set up our shock trauma platoon capability at the Christianitos Road campground, setting it up, and then working out the medical evacuation of wounded Marines and allies and things like that, and to be able to affect that coordination at a Marine Air Ground Task Force level is absolutely critical to our success in combat.
Whether it's San Clemente or our neighbors that are closest to us, we're all very cooperative in understanding that they were going to have helicopters and artillery and things maybe they haven't heard or seen in a few years.
I think one of the beauties of Dawn Blitz, there were a couple things that we got out of Dawn Blitz that I thought were very important. Just like the Marine Corps looks at operations in a joint context, going in with the other U.S. services, it's very unlikely that we're going to be doing things solely as a United States force anymore. We have a close and important relationship where our collective security efforts ensure that there is peace and stability throughout the Pacific. And it wasn't just the Japanese. As we dealt with the rest of our partners, we brought in our South American partners, we brought in New Zealand. We were able to expand those relationships among folks that you don't habitually think of as working together. We don't think of the Pacific as including the Western South American nations, but that is all part of the shift to the Pacific. The Pacific is pretty broad. America considers itself a Pacific nation, as do many of our South American partners.
Those are always good opportunities to train with allies, because we learn as much as they do, I'm sure, if not more. For the Japanese particularly, they have recognized that amphibious capability is something that's in their national interest. When you look at some benchmark events that have helped propel them forward in that process, Dawn Blitz, 13 TAC 2 will certainly go down as one of those benchmark moments that really helped them to define what the requirements were going to be, what kind of TTPs they needed to develop. Because it's not about them creating a Marine Corps, it's about them creating a capability that fits within their self-defense construct. So it's a little different, and they have a lot of things they have to sort through, and the only way they're going to be able to figure it out is to be able to come out here, get side by side with the Maritime Self-Defense Force and the Ground Self-Defense Force, and hash those things out. Of course, the Canadians and the New Zealanders were also a part of the exercise. Their primary role was as a ground force, but they had the opportunity to work side by side with Marines, but movement from the sea and inland, and to exchange tactics, techniques, and procedures.
The more partners we can bring in, the better understanding, the better knowledge, the better friendships that we can develop through exercises like Dawn Blitz, the more we're liable to achieve our goal of security throughout the entire Pacific.
The thing that hurts us the most is the shortage of amphibious shipping, and it's been a subject since I've been in the Marine Corps. But it's not sexy, but it's really what we require to come from the sea and have that sovereignty, and not necessarily work out of somebody's country, somebody's airfield, but be able to operate from the sea.
It's not just Camp Pendleton. It's this full complex of training bases and ranges that we have. Somebody may say, well, you can take a piece of Camp Pendleton and shift it to 29 Palms or shift it to, somewhere else. Well, those somewhere else's are under pressure as well. So we're really pushing the envelope on the full range of bases that we have in the Southern California area right now. And so when you begin to encroach on that, when you begin to cut into that, you also begin to challenge that proximity issue that we have between us and Third Fleet that adds so much benefit to us.